Good morning and welcome to Pivot Talk, sponsored by Known. And today I would like to introduce my co-host, Juan Salas Romer. Juan, welcome.
Thank you, Bob. Glad to be here.
And so Juan, please share. We've been talking. We've been excited about the number of shows that we've had here at Pivot Talk and the progress that the program has made. But I'd like to today maybe step back a little bit, give us a little bit, remind us of the history of where we've come from, and then we'll talk a little bit about where we are and where we're going.
Oh, thanks, Bob. Appreciate that. Well, we started actually today, maybe this week, we turn a year. We started in October, not for People Talk, but as Known Co-working. So Known started as a co-working space in downtown New Haven. And our focus has been to work with entrepreneurs in various in different facets. And let me just show you what that means. We call it the Known ecosystem, which includes our co-working space in downtown New Haven. It's a 6,000 square feet co-working space designed to help you collaborate and promote serendipitous connections with all the amenities you need to be productive. We also about connecting your business. We during the pandemic, we have our virtual co-working once a week. It's a Zoom meeting Mondays at 4 o'clock from 4 to 6. And Barb Nangle, our community manager, is the one who coordinates this event. So for businesses to keep networking during COVID times. And then we have the other part of Known is about promoting your business. And in March, we started with 3 programs. One's called the Connection Corner. It's a live stream program that we have for bringing people from the community that are working on interesting projects in downtown New Haven. We got Digital Media Sync, which is your window to your digital world. And we bring people who are making great developments on the digital media and also lessons about how to bring your business to the digital media. And the third show, which we are now, it's called Pivot Talk, and it's about how businesses pivot right now during COVID times, but it's really pivoting based on technology, changes in the market, and the strategy that goes along with that. And the third element is coaching and educational support for businesses. We have the Growth Academy, and that's just recently starting with digital business success. And then the last element, I'm going to talk more about this at the end of the program, is the Knownpreneur program, which is a cohort program for entrepreneurs. And this first program is going to be focused on minority business, which will start in January. We're going to talk more about this.
Great, thanks. That's a great recap, and it's been an exciting journey over the past. What's now? Where are we? Maybe 10 months. Some great progress.
Absolutely, it's been a great journey to bring in more than 30 businesses now to showcase in these programs. So we're really enjoying it. Great working with you, Bob.
Sure. Yeah, and again, it's this is exciting. Thanks. Thanks to you, Juan. Thanks to those that are with us today viewing. This is a live broadcast, but it also is available to be watched afterwards via either any of these links that are up here on the screen. So please, we're happy to have you either way, any of the ways that you're with us. So today we have a special guest that I'd like to bring on here, Ramon Peralta, and we're going to actually have a couple of parts of the conversation with him. But Ramon is from we'll have him share a little bit of the background, but he's got some great stories for us on both content marketing and then also how to think a little bit about some of the challenges that businesses are faced with today in some forward thinking. So we're gonna hit both of those. But I'd like to bring Juan on and bring Ramon on. I'm sorry, and say hello.
Hi there.
Hi, Ramon. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So as we tend to do on our pivot talks, we think about where things were in the days back before March of 2020, and what we were thinking about is as we were leading organizations. And so I'm wondering if you could take us back to what you tell us a little bit maybe about the background of your business and what you were thinking about and what your plans were in the early parts of 2020.
Yeah. So, well, thanks for having me again. I'm with Peralta Design. We are a full service digital creative agency. We're located in Shelton, Connecticut. Our model is, having full-time employees on site. So we're headquartered here in Shelton. We've got 8 full-time employees. And this year, we actually hired 3 people early on in the year, pre-pandemic. We brought on 2 digital marketers full-time and a motion designer full-time. So you can imagine when this hit in March, my entire team was like deer in the headlights. It was like, what's going to happen? Especially those that were hired last felt like they were going to be let go first, because that seemed to be kind of the energy and the vibe going on in the business community, because we were all in uncharted waters. Yeah, we lost Bob.
I think I'm here. We got a couple of mutes and unmutes going on, but yeah. So we talked a little bit about, and I'd love to hear your experience and how it's been helpful. How content marketing? What can you tell us about that?
Well, yeah, it's funny because we weren't doing that much content marketing other than the normal, putting up a meme or the best practice, say, of documenting what was going on in our headquarters and with our clients, and what new websites we were launching, things like that, or any speaking engagements that I was going to be on. Of course, we were documenting those kind of things. But when the pandemic hit, we had our first staff meeting, virtual. Everybody was like, on the screen, and and I'm the leader, and I'm kind of like, okay, so what do we do here? Because we're all scared. I was scared, and so what we did was we threw ourselves into service. We said, we're going to become a beacon of hope. We're going to continue helping people. We're going to, offer these free classes, free tutorials. We felt like the time was ripe for a lot of DIY stuff in the marketing space, because people were going to be displaced. People were going to be looking. They're going to be online. We're going to have this captive audience. So we started a brand new launch academy. I was already doing volunteer work for SCORE under the brand new, brand name, which is just delivering talks on branding and best practices for business. But we started a section of our website where we would upload video tutorials on how to use different platforms or different softwares that people may want to use at home, like ClipScribe, for example, which is a captioning software that I happen to use. We started doing brand new live, where twice a month team members would come online and actually talk about branding, or talk about web development, or talk about print marketing materials, just giving away our knowledge to reinforce not only that we were subject matter experts, but more importantly, just put out good content that people would find helpful. We started a campaign called PD Power Partners, where we would actually, whether they were clients or strategic partners of ours, we would ask them, what kind of promotion do you want to put out right now? Like, what would help you? Whether it was 10% off, whether it was, hey, we have curbside pickup, whatever it was, we would actually for free create ads for them and blast them out on our social media channels and on our monthly newsletter. So that all turned into a robust content strategy. But it initially started out as like, how can we help others? How can we be a beacon of hope? And honestly, from a strategic leadership standpoint, I took that approach because it helped my team and myself get out of the fear of what was going to happen to us and get out of our own heads. It allowed us to put ourselves in the shoes of others. It allowed us to help others. It gave us purpose, because we didn't know if we were going to stay busy or we were going to, or what. So it initially gave us a reason for coming to work every day. We were like, we're going to help others. And that alleviated the fear that I think many of us had when the pandemic first hit.
Ramon, I love this story. It actually has some parallels to the story that we had, because back in March, we had no co-working space. And one of the first things that shut down were offices. Mm-hmm. So, we were in March, like, okay, scratching our heads. And, I was talking to my director of communities, and we had about, in 4 months, we had about 300 visitors to the co-working space. We were all pumped, we were all excited, and all of a sudden we had to shut our doors. Right. So what you're saying about bringing everybody together, aligning and envisioning, what we could do to really get out of the day-to-day pandemic mentality or depression, that really helped us bring everybody together and actually reach out to businesses I think I want to hear a little bit more about that, because it's not the norm that you have business leadership taking a proactive action when a lot of the leaders typically say, okay, wait a second, let me wait, what's going on, because you know that in March, a lot of people were saying, is this going to be 2 weeks? Is this going to be 2 months? Like, we had no clue. And all of a sudden, look at us now. We're in November. We're still going on like, oh my God, it's probably till April. So I want to hear a little bit about what's your vision going into the pandemic, understanding, I really need to do this. This is the way I need to work, because otherwise this is going to happen. Was there any fear factor? Was there any positive? Tell us what was in your head at that time.
Well, I certainly wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm a terrible poker player, because you can tell my facial expressions immediately, whether I'm happy or concerned or sad, right on my face. So I'm terrible at poker. So, keeping the team together was number one. That was my number one focus, like keeping us intact. Having just hired people without having to work. I'm the type of entrepreneur that I take the risk and then I figure it out later. And so I hired these people because my goal was to build up our digital marketing area, robustly and eventually do the content marketing that we're doing today. So what ended up happening was, because of our own successful content marketing strategy, other companies would say, how are you doing this? How can I do it? And we started putting together a flight plan. We launched brands as our motto. So flight plans became a product for us that didn't exist pre-COVID. So immediately we felt like, wow, this is turning into something, because now we were starting to sell a plan where we said, okay, you don't know what kind of content to post. You don't know where to put it. Let us do the research and we'll give you a blueprint essentially that you can follow. You can decide to hire us or not, or you can do it yourself. And I felt like the climate was ripe for teaching people and empowering people on how to do things themselves. And that in itself became a product. And I will say one more thing, because we were all scared, but one thing that helped was I kind of made it a quote unquote requirement that whenever we would have team meetings virtually, that everyone would wear the company logo in some form or fashion. So, counterintuitively, I actually ordered more gear during the pandemic, fleeces and polos and vests and things like that, hats. I wanted everybody at every staff meeting to wear the logo, no matter where they were, so that when we looked at each other on Zoom, that we could all see that we were connected by our company, that there was a common thread. And I also did it for the purpose of our customers. A lot of our model is every team member is their own project manager, and their own client relation manager. So each team member I knew was independently meeting with clients, and I didn't want the client to feel like all of a sudden they were dealing with a freelancer, or all of a sudden they were dealing with an independent contractor. I always wanted them to feel like they were still dealing with Peralta Design, even if I wasn't in the room, and even if the meeting wasn't taking place at our headquarters. So it was very important for our team members to always wear the PD logo independently. And then when we were collective, I think subliminally, it made us all feel like even though we're apart, we're still in this together. And that was really important for us too.
Excellent points.
Yeah, and maybe as I hear this, Ramon, that's very insightful, and maybe asking both you and Juan, thinking back on some of the guests that we've had on Pivot Talk, we've heard over and over that the businesses that have done the best during this time have been not those who have retreated during this time, but those who have moved boldly forward, those who have stood behind their team, right? If we think about Marissa at Elm City Wellness or Craig at Ulmo, they're they're strongly supporting their teams. They're doing what's necessary to provide them what they need. Right, hearing the things that we heard from Amy at the Yale School of Management. Right, it's the team is what makes this work, and backing off or reducing staff and all that is counterproductive to having a business be healthy in the long term. So I'm curious on your thoughts on that, both of you.
Well, I think one part is, do you have the runway to sustain a recession? I think that's number one. As a business leader, you say, okay, do I have the runway? Do I have the cash flow? Do I have the resources to maintain these people? And what is the minimum viable product that I could show out there that keeps the lights on? Because I think it's about like Ramon said it. I want everybody to wear the same logo, so everybody he multiplied the effect in his team of his brand, basically, talk about brand equity, which is something that you marketers are really focused on. It's a sense of team, of group, and right. One thing that happened, and I lived this in a different fashion. Back in 2008, I had a private financing company, and those were the years where you didn't want to be in finance because of what happened, right? And I had to pivot from finance to real estate. And but a lot of things, one of the things that I noticed that there's a lot of people who came to me to help out very inexpensively and to try to, there's a market that opens when you have, you're proactive and you take what they call in strategy, they call first mover advantage. Because you're there, you have a presence in the market when a lot of people, they just leave the market. So even though the market could contract to 60%, before, the market supply and demand were like this, but guess what? The market contracted, but the suppliers contracted even farther. And that's where the opportunities lie, because you have some entry points that didn't exist before that now exist.
Right, and that's a great point. I want to run with that, because I also noticed as a business leader that there was a void in a message of common sense. And what I mean by that is that the media cycle was either nobody comes out of their house, right? Or it was, this is a hoax. I felt like all we were hearing was one of those two extremes. And what we did, one of the campaigns we did during this time was we did the hashtag reopen safely. And I'll tell you how that led to an appearance on the Today Show for me, because I became an advocate we became an advocate for reopening safely. We ordered masks. We were one of the first companies to bulk order masks with our logo on them. And we did a hashtag campaign where we would give them away to people. We literally mailed out hundreds of them, and then we had people take selfies and send us the selfie. So we had user created content, basically people sending us pictures, and we would post those pictures. But we wanted to show that there was a safe way to continue moving the economy forward. And this is going back to April. And that campaign single-handedly is responsible for why the New Haven Chamber reached out to me and said, we want to have you on a panel talking about how we could reopen safely. Now, it didn't hurt that one of our clients is Modern Plastics, and they ramped up production on face shields and plexiglass barriers. So we were very much embedded in this kind of new movement to reopen retail spaces and workspaces with dividers and safety measures. But that panel that I did for the New Haven Chamber was promoted on Twitter by the New Haven Chamber. Then I got a call from NPR and NPR Marketplace. And now this was in anticipation of the phase one, which was going to be May. Governor Lamont was going to say, you can reopen at a certain percentage. I think it was 50%. So in anticipation of that, NPR found the panel and they sat in on it. Because I asked the woman from NPR, how did you find out about me? Because, I've put out about 60, since the pandemic started, I put out about 60 2-minute videos that I put on LinkedIn and YouTube and IGTV, on Instagram and Facebook. And they're just informative videos on leadership, on branding, on marketing. So I thought maybe she saw one of those. But she actually sat in on the panel, And she said, would you mind doing an interview for NPR Marketplace? And of course I did. And the topic was reopening safely. And that aired on NPR Marketplace on the radio. People were calling me and saying, I just heard you on the radio on NPR. It was amazing. Well, the Today Show picked up NPR, and the Today Show had me do an interview back in April. And there's a funny twist to the story was because I did this interview and I had a COVID haircut. I had shaved my head, essentially bald. This is when nobody was coming out of their homes and the barbershops were closed. I couldn't buy a pair of clippers if I tried. They were sold out everywhere. So the Today Show does this interview about reopening. And I remember I posted 3 times on social media that my show was going to air, that I was going to be on the Today Show, and it never did. And the reason why was, I think, because at the time that voice of moderation was being drowned out by chicken shortage and the death count, and everything was extreme news. And I was basically saying there's a way to do this. If we follow the guidelines, we can reopen. And so I gave up on it. And months later, it wasn't until last month, I believe, that the Today Show contacted me again and said, hey, we want to revisit that piece. And it finally aired on the Today Show. But I firmly believe that sequence of events was due to all the content that we've been putting out there, the messaging we've been putting out there, and just being consistent.
Which is about timing, right? I mean, this is very interesting because sometimes, you went based on your instincts a lot of days on you were socially responsible also in the way you were approaching it, and people know that and perceive that. Right. But what's interesting because you're pointing at something else in this. We try to make these programs educational as much as possible. So one thing is what you did as a leader, and the other thing is what was happening in the environment, and why your message at the beginning was accepted, and then at the end, towards the middle, because it was so polarized, it was like, okay, we don't want this guy in the show. But guess what? Now we go back. The wave comes back, which tells a story about how businesses sometimes they have the right product but not the right timing.
Right. Exactly.
Right? And how you have to kind of manage not only the internal but also the external factors that are happening, which is great.
Exactly.
So this leads us, Bob, to I guess the title of the program, right? Just about the social aspect.
Right.
Where does balancing profitability and socially responsible, and how that plays into the role of a business.
Right.
So that's something we'd really like to explore. I've been involved in a lot of conversations with businesses who've seen a lot of the trends of 2020. Right, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of employees of various businesses that are involved in social causes, I guess is probably the right term, and the businesses see that there's a groundswell of emotion and energy around this, and so on one side they want to be supportive of either their employees or maybe something that they believe themselves. At the same time, many people have been trained that the world is about, you've got to make your profit, and then maybe if there's some leftover dollars, then you can apply them towards some causes that way. And so I'd be very interested to hear your thoughts about how to balance that. I've got to make profit, I've got to be responsible so that I have a business that will keep people employed versus a lot of people's desire now to be involved in some other causes.
Right. It's a great segue. Great question. Great topic. I mean, there's no denying we live in this woke cancel culture right now, where the consumer is very much aware of what companies stand for and what they're doing, to the point that Forbes came out with an article and said that almost 50% of consumers really care about what causes their brands are supporting. Right. The term CSR, the acronym CSR, used to be, customer service rep. That's probably what Juan and I know that as, and you, Bob. But now it's corporate social responsibility is what it stands for. And Patagonia, I'm a big fan of their products, of course. But their CEO is quoted as saying every time that they've stood behind a social cause, their profits have gone up. I mean, it's no question. Most recently, they went as far as putting tags in their clothing that said, vote the a-holes out. And it sounds extreme, but they're an environmental outdoors company, so they're basically saying anybody that's against climate change or thinks climate change is fake, get them out of office. And their CEO was so adamant about that, they literally stitched it in their clothing. And if you go to their website, they're making a concerted effort. They're taking action to be an anti-racist company. If you go to Adidas website, they have a big statement there. Black Lives Matter. They want to be an anti-racist company. So Ben & Jerry's is another great example of that. Nike. I wanted to mention Nike because way before the George Floyd tragedy, Nike used Kaepernick in one of their ads. And as we know, Kaepernick has been the symbol of being against police brutality. And Nike's profits after, they were on social media, people were burning their sneakers and things like that. But after that ad ran, Nike's profits went up $8 billion. Okay, so if you understand your audience and you understand your customer, and you know what's important to them, and you're an authentic CEO or an authentic leader, you need to stand behind social causes that matter, because many people are of the mindset, and rightfully so, that silence is complicity. If you think that you being quiet is going to actually help your business, it actually hurts your business in this environment. And I think that the environment we're in, our society, they're so aware right now of what's happening, especially over the last 4 years. They're becoming even more aware of how important voting is and what's going on socially, that if you're a business owner and you don't have a social cause that you're standing behind visibly, I think you're at a loss, and it's going to hurt your business in the long run, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So those are great examples of brands and businesses that did it well. Do you have any cautionary tales of businesses or brands that have gone about the same thing poorly?
My favorite example is actually Gillette. I use them in my presentation because Gillette, they're known for their slogan from probably the 70s, a best a man can get, about their shavers. It's the best a man can get. And so with the whole Weinstein, Cosby, all these celebrities that were getting, prosecuted for, sexual assault, whatever it was. This whole Me Too movement was like in the news. It was like the thing, and so Gillette took it upon themselves to say, we're gonna make a video, we're gonna get behind this, and it was very risky. Because who buys razors? They're razors, men. So they put out a video that was very, very heavy-handed, and it was like a toxic masculinity video, and they lost so many clients because of that, so many customers that I believe they lost over $6 billion in revenue. So they lost. So they got behind something that was probably too sensitive. Did not align with their customer base. So like I mentioned before, you want to pick a cause, make sure that it aligns with your customer base. And if you run an authentic business, meaning that your CEO and your leadership and everyone is authentic and true, then there should be congruency between leadership and your end customer. And I think in that case, it wasn't well received. And maybe they could have done a better job. I think the sentiment was correct, but the way they did the video was too heavy-handed, and it didn't sit well with the customer base, and for them it backfired.
Yeah, they got a double whammy because then they got competition from the shaving club. So they had the subscription service, which is another way to deliver the shaves. So
yeah, they were already like teetering on relevancy because they had Dollar Shave Club and all these other places.
Right.
And to do something like that at that time, probably obviously not a good move on their part. But you're seeing a lot. I think a lot more companies are doing it successfully. than those that are doing it incorrectly. And I think we're going to see more of it. HubSpot was doing it pre-COVID, and I want to mention HubSpot only because I want you to get this sense of why would a company do this, and the reason you do this is to differentiate yourself from your competition. And so HubSpot is a CRM. There's a ton of, Salesforce is a competitor, SharpSpring is a competitor. So HubSpot was doing a conference that was for free. Now, typically when you go to a conference, those trade shows, they're very expensive. Registration is like over $1,000, and a booth is $5,000. Where they did a convention that was for free for 20,000 of their followers or their resellers. And their competition and critics were saying, how can you do this? How can you give this away for free? And their CEO said, well, we're building community, and we're giving away so much, and we're treating our customers so well that our competition has to cross over that moat. They basically created a moat of loyalty because they gave away so much. So it's another kind of angle where you're wondering how to market during difficult times. If you truly help and give away and make a difference in your customers' lives, the competition is going to have to get through that, right? So you're no longer competing on price alone. You're offering so much more value than your competition that it just can't be beat. And HubSpot is a great example. Now, of course, those conferences are done virtually, but they give away so much to their resellers that those resellers aren't going anywhere, and that's important. And I think that's something that all businesses of all sizes can probably pick something from.
Ramon, you mentioned Gillette, and you mentioned businesses that give away things and all that. And I'd like to put this in a context of what happened with social media and content marketing. How does that, the fact that you're able to bring in or present a brand and deliver a message in a way that what before was so expensive to launch, today is something that it kind of levels the playing fields. It seems like small businesses and big businesses, you could have a $1 million budget, you could have $100,000 budget or a $10,000 budget, and yet I want to say like what's this term? There's a term in economy called the marginal gain of that. It is so little when you go to a 10,000 to 100,000. Could you tell us a little bit about that and content marketing? And as a small company, I think this is more of a message for small companies, which you've been advising for so long.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about what that content marketing does for them.
Right. So basically, you're providing information, you're advertising in a way that's giving value. Instead of just putting an ad, you're trying to get people to stop the scroll. You're getting people to get to know who you are as an individual. I recently had a client who was doing, prior to COVID, had been doing some very high production value videos with a video production company. And of course, his revenues have dropped as many have during this pandemic. And so he was watching my videos, and he literally asked me, how are you doing your videos? Because I've got to start doing these myself. And now he's putting these videos out himself. And I've advised people, your iPhone, your smartphone has an amazing camera. Your computers, if you record yourself on Zoom, you right away you have, face a window, record yourself on Zoom. You can record a session and edit that video in QuickTime and add captions. There are plenty of software packages out there. I particularly like ClipScribe, and I should buy stock in them if they're public, because I promote them quite often. But that allows an easy way to add captions to your videos. And 80% of people are watching video with the sound off. So you definitely want to add captions. But I think people can do really kind of homemade content and come across as authentic. I think in this environment, authenticity is much more valuable than high production value, because we've all been there. everybody being home, like you can be an executive and you're not in your high tower window corner office, you're working from home. We're all working from home. So maybe COVID has equalized the playing field a bit from, a brand standpoint, but I think that everyone with the tools available to them with social media and a strategy, I will stress that because that's one of the things that we've been offering is strategy. I think that if you have a strategy, then you can run with it. You can execute it. There are tools available for you to do it at home. And I think the dividends that it will pay is that it becomes part of an integrated strategy that maybe funnels viewers back to your website where you can have some automation in place. So you're not putting videos out for the sake of putting videos. Those videos need to have a call to action. You need to have a website that you're promoting at the end of your video, or a logo or a slogan or a hashtag that takes them back to a website. And on that website, you want to have some automation. You want to have a form or two that somebody can click and fill out and submit to you. And now when you get home and you look at these forms, you've got some people that have self-identified as being interested in your product or service, and now you follow up. But it's not a one-off thing. It's got to be integrated. You've got to be disciplined. You got to do it consistently, and you've got to have a strategy. And for me, I think of it as if you think of a funnel, at the top is this free content that you're giving away, these videos, and in the middle is maybe a paywall. Maybe there's a PDF that somebody downloads. Maybe there's a book you're selling. Maybe there's a video that somebody has to watch that's a curriculum or a class. And then once they bought that affordable one, now the higher premium service is maybe a consultation with you, or maybe a speaking engagement for you, or maybe it's a project that you do for them. But it starts with the free content. That's where the brand awareness comes in. And really, this content marketing that I'm talking about is the first step in brand awareness, and in letting people know who you are as a person authentically, what your company's about, what causes it stands for, because people are scrolling. And what are you going to put out there that's going to make somebody stop their thumb and watch what you're saying?
Well, this has given me a great lead into our new program at Known. We're going to have our first cohort program coming in January.
Yes.
And we're taking applications soon. We're gonna show this in the screen soon. But I want to tell everybody that Ramon Peralta is one of our instructors. And
yes.
So if you apply to the program, which is a 4 months program, we have about we want to have at least a dozen small businesses. And this time is going to be very focused on the BIPOC group, Black, Indigenous people, Latins, small businesses. Is very much focused on businesses who have been hurt due to the COVID, and we want to make sure that we give them it's going to be 40 hours in 4 months, all the tools for businesses to grow, to develop strong, to connect to the right people. So you're going to have people like Ramon here teaching some of the classes. And we like you to join us. We're all very excited. Bob is also going to be mentoring from time to time on business growth, which is his specialty. And we hope to. It's good that I have the screen here, my cheat sheet. So it's for businesses that are making less than 500,000 revenue. So if you're an independent contractors are welcome, as well as people who have their own business running with a few employees. And the idea is that we bring you up in your sales. We connect you to the right vendors. We want this to be very pragmatic. When we started Known, we said, well, how can we do a co-working space that really plugs in entrepreneurs to the right contacts? We have what we see in the market is really we need to just multiply the channels, the networking channels. Same thing with capital. It's not lack of capital; it's just the distribution of that capital. So what we're trying to do is try to bring in, in a way, being useful. In what we're doing in terms of bringing entrepreneurs to success.
Mm-hmm.
Bob, I think
very excited about that, about the Knownpreneurs program, Juan, and I think Ramon and I are very excited to participate in that and help folks out. And I really want to highlight again. I think what you're bringing up, Ramon, with the content with marketing, with giving things away, right? The inbound marketing concept that, as you mentioned, HubSpot promoted and created their inbound. I was fortunate enough to attend one of those a few years ago, and it's amazing how much loyalty they built by giving so many things away, and they've just got raving fans, and it's hard to put it. It's one of those things that it feels good, but it's hard to put the value on it. But there clearly is a lot of value there.
Yeah, I think we're all tribal. You know, we have this primal need for community, you know, as human beings, and you want to build a community around your brand. You want people to feel that they belong to what your brand stands for. And content marketing is a great way to do it. And giving away. Another book I like to promote a lot is The Go Giver. And there's a follow-up to that, Go Givers Sell More. And it's really short read, but it's about this concept of helping others, giving away your expertise. It reinforces you and your brand as a subject matter expert, and builds community, which is really a great strategy to have.
Great. Thank you. Excellent. And the author of that book is, for those of us that might want to look it up?
I don't have it on the top of my head, but Google it.
We'll get it posted. But so, and then other things I'd like is for those watching again, those watching live or watching on delay, mention the other shows on that are in the known ecosystem. We have the Connection Corner that is a weekly to bi-weekly show sharing small businesses and people that are doing cool things within the New Haven area. And then we have Digital Media Sync, which is a weekly show providing tips for folks that are working in small businesses that may need some best practices in the world of digital media. Other things that we'd like to share with you, if you are looking to pivot your business, looking for ideas for growth, please reach out. We would be glad to help you. I would be glad to help you. We've got resources that can do that. So please reach out to Known. And then finally, if you know someone that would be a good guest, we're always looking for great guests to help provide more education for our audience and for our ecosystem. Then there we go. So it's Berg and Mann as the authors. Thank you. We'll get that. Yes. We'll get that posted. We can post that in a for the follow up as well. I guess the last thing again, link to us on social. You can get thank you. We can get the Known website, also Known Co-working on Facebook, Instagram, and please follow us on YouTube. So those are the ways to connect to us. We thank you for joining us. Thank Ramon for joining us and for all that you shared today.
Thanks for having me.
Great show. And thanks, Juan. And I think we've another great show. And look forward to the next one. Take care. Have a great day. Bye.